Honest day's pay. I'm joined today by Supervisors Patrick Kennedy and Rich Desmond, along with the NorCal Carpenters Union Executive Officer Jay Bradshaw and the Sacramento Sierra Building Trades Executive Director Kevin Ferreira. Now, this press conference is being held at the airport because the airport is a shining example of the high standards and the best practices that all employers should follow. The Sacramento International Airport has put into place procedures and protocols to protect our workers, to prevent wage theft, and to protect workers. But unfortunately, we have employers that do not share the same respect for the dignity of workers, and we have some employers that have refused to follow labor laws in California. Wage theft often targets the most vulnerable among us, from immigrants to day laborers to those that are trying to hang on every day. If you steal from a worker's wage, you are stealing their rent, their groceries, and their dignity. But today is a new day in Sacramento, because today those individuals will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Now, I do want to recognize and thank the NorCal Carpenters Union, because several months ago, they brought and referred a case of wage theft to my office. They had identified a possible defendant who was stealing from workers. A company known as ProFrame is a local contractor who specializes in framing work. And in fact, they were the subcontractor for an affordable housing apartment complex on 39th and Broadway, which was a public works project with prevailing wages. But what the investigators from the Carpenters discovered was that this company, ProFrame, was underpaying their employees by upwards of 50%. And when the Sacramento DA's office got involved and our investigators looked at the situation, we found that ProFrame had hired 15 employees, many of which were undocumented and migrants. And ProFrame was exploiting these workers, paying them only 50%, meaning they would have the workers work 8 hours a day and yet only pay them for 4 hours. Robbing and stealing and taking upwards of $50,000 from the most vulnerable among us. And when these undocumented immigrants reported and complained about the injustice, they were terminated. And so today is a new day in Sacramento, because today is a turning point for our region, because today, for the first time in Sacramento County's history, my office will be filing felony criminal charges against ProFrame for wage theft. And the arraignment of this corporation will happen in a few weeks in early June. But we are also joined today by several other allies in our pursuit of justice and our efforts to protect workers. First of all, we are here and joined by Sacramento County Supervisors Patrick Kennedy and Rich Desmond, who both have a long history and a track record of being champions of workers, not only in the region but throughout the state. And so I want to thank them for being here. And we are also joined by another ally in my office's fight for workers, and that ally is the Sacramento Sierra Building Trades, their executive director, Kevin Ferreira, their executive boards and members that are here. Because, as Kevin Ferreira has often mentioned to me, and I want to make sure what he said to me correctly here, if you can be prosecuted for stealing from a store, you should be prosecuted for stealing from a worker. If you can be prosecuted for stealing from a store, you should be prosecuted for stealing from a worker. Yes, sir. And so today, it's not just about filing charges. Today, it's about setting a precedent throughout California that we will not tolerate those individuals that exploit workers, that we will not tolerate those that exploit and steal from workers. And so, with the encouragement from both the carpenters and the building trades and our champions of public safety and workers from the Board of Supervisors, my office is creating a workers' protection unit. The Workers' Protection Unit will vertically investigate and prosecute and hold accountable corporations, companies, and executives for stealing from workers and making unsafe working conditions. And so we stand here today. We stand here today at the gateway to our state's capital. We stand here wearing vests and hard hats. We stand here arm in arm. We stand here with signs and banners to send a message that in Sacramento, without a doubt, we will make sure that you are held fully accountable under the law for endangering workers and stealing from them. So with that, I'd like to first introduce the NorCal Carpenters Executive Officer Jay Bradshaw for a few comments.
Again, my name is Jay Bradshaw. I'm honored to serve on behalf of 37,000 hardworking members throughout Northern California. A number of them here today. Let me hear from you. I want to recognize DA Ho and taking the move, which is actually going to change the landscape for bringing justice to workers in our state. I want to recognize the workers who were brave enough to stand up for their rights. I want to recognize the labor compliance teams driven by the power of the 37,000 hardworking members of our organization that are out there every night in the homes, in the campgrounds, in the hotels, and sneaking on those jobs to find out what the true story is in production of residential housing, including affordable housing in our state. In the Carpenters Union, we refer to it as a crime scene of production, because that is exactly what it is. Every single violation out there. This is what's happening in building our homes. To our brothers in labor as well, and sisters in labor from other organizations, we welcome you to that fight. What that fight looks like over the last 4 years, mission-driven to take on those who exploit workers, to take on those that tear down our conditions, and to send a message that we don't see color, sex, race, we see what you do for a living. And to know that our union's mission for over 100 years is to pull those up that are exploited and into our family to keep us strong. This is an affordable housing project. ProFrame is just another example of a crime scene contractor that for decades these types have been doing this kind of activity that runs all the way to the gamut of labor trafficking. We are finding workers, families on the jobs in the Central Valley and other areas where they have children scrapping out drywall to try to make it. This is a public works job. That means the taxpayer is being exploited as well, funding this project that was supposed to bring workers' rights and prevailing wages. The tax fraud and the robbing of billions of dollars of resources from our state is affecting the ability for working class people to get homes, to afford child care, have decent transportation. It is a crisis, and it's theft. And while you have this contractor whose business model is based on exploitation, make no mistake, on behalf of the NorCal Carpenters Union, that general contractor, that Steve Deacon, and that developer related, we hold them to account too. They are responsible. They take the public funds. They should be policing those that are hired on those jobs. And when a union shows up and says something's wrong, if they're not guilty as well, they should open their doors and say, what can we do to help? We will not wait for them to get right with that. We will stay mission-driven. We will continue to drive the highways and byways and meet with those workers and continue with the support of our membership to see their own future opportunities tied down to raising everyone up to the standard we fought for. We will not rest. We will not stop. Again, to our district attorney in Sacramento, we thank you so much. Make no mistake, we will be shoulder to shoulder with you. And I believe you will set the example for district attorneys across this state. And with all of us, we will bring our great state back to where it was in the past, many years back, with none left out, all workers respected, and deliver housing that we need so desperately, but at the wages and conditions and respect that everyone in our state deserves, no matter where you come from. We are so honored to be here today. Count us in this fight to the end. Yeah. Thank you, brother.
And now I'd like to introduce, as I mentioned a moment ago, a true champion of workers' rights, Supervisor Patrick Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. District Attorney, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. You know, this is a great day for not only Sacramento, but for workers throughout California and even our nation. Before I was a county supervisor, I actually had the privilege of representing a number of building trades and the contractors who employed them. Part of my job was to ferret out the cheats. Part of my job was to make sure that anybody who worked a full day got paid for a full day and had safe working conditions. What I didn't have at that time was a mechanism through the law or a partner through the law like we now have in District Attorney Tien Ho. What this district attorney is doing is going far above and beyond what your standard district attorney looks at prosecuting. Why? Because it protects working people. Why? Because it protects people who are looking for that housing you heard about. Why? Because, as was said, when you steal from your workers, you steal from the community. When you steal as a company, you are just the same as the thief that goes into a bank with a mask over his face.
That's right.
So, I want to just say thank you on behalf of the working people who work so hard and diligently, like those that you see behind me, those that you see behind them, who are building one of the greatest airports in the country and not skirting the rules, creating a level playing field so that all contractors can compete and all workers are paid what they deserve. We're doing that here at Sacramento International Airport. I expect the same from every public project that you see throughout the state of California. Thank you.
So I have to say, I think Supervisor Kennedy just gave a closing argument. And I'm willing to vote guilty right now off of just that.
Hear, hear.
But now I want to introduce a friend, a collaborator, a partner in the fight for not only public safety, but to protect workers across the region, across the state, the Executive Director of the Sacramento Sierra Building Trades, Kevin Ferreira.
Good morning, everybody. I want to echo the remarks of the Carpenters leader, Jay Bradshaw, and also with DA Tien Ho and Patrick Kennedy, and soon I know what a good friend of mine, Rich Desmond, is about to say. Wage theft has a historical record. Sadly, it still exists today with contractors who are cheating the system by misclassifying workers, violating labor law and safety standards on the job sites. But the good news today is that there's a new tool in the toolbox called the Workers' Protection Unit. and the Sacramento Sierra Building and Construction Trades, we just want to say thank you to DA Tin Ho, and on behalf of all the workers, we thank you so much for this. This is something that we've been waiting for as long as I've been in construction, and I think Jay as well.
Yeah, man.
Right? Yeah, so and there's more of them out there than what we're hearing today. You're going to hear more of this. So I want to thank everybody so much for this. Thank you.
So with that, I do want to open it up for questions from the media for us to answer. And I would ask that if you do have a question, please identify the particular station you're from or the outlet that you're from, and we'd be more than happy to answer those questions. So I'll open up for any questions that you may have for us.
Hello, Devin Truby with ABC 10. Can you talk to us about the steps you're taking moving forward so that more workers will come forward, especially those that are undocumented, to use this new task force without fear of retaliation?
So we have a genuine concern right now that those individuals that are undocumented, that are migrants, and that are being exploited, they're the most vulnerable in our communities. And as somebody who's an immigrant myself, I understand the trepidation with coming forward, especially on these issues. And so with partners such as the Carpenters and the building trades, they have compliance officers, they have investigators. So at the very first level, when that worker is encountering these issues of wage theft, of unsafe working conditions, they're going to contact the compliance officer. And then what will happen from there is those cases will be referred to the Workers' Protection Unit, where we work hand in hand. Our investigators will work hand in hand, and our prosecutors will work hand in hand with them to ferret those out, to look and examine the cases, to determine what additional investigation needs to be done, and then take the steps necessary to prosecute and hold them accountable, and to really send a message throughout the community that, number one, for those who are victims, it's okay to reach out. For those who are victims, it's okay to speak up. And then to the employers, to the abusers, the message is we will hold you accountable. But I'll sort of turn it over to our partners up here to talk about that concern that we have, especially for our undocumented migrant communities, for those that are most vulnerable.
Thank you, DA Ho. So with us, again, we start with looking at workers as workers. Without a doubt, there's a lot of fear in the workforce, particularly with the immigrant workforce, for all kinds of reasons that I don't have to point out today. Our approach is anything we can do, right, to protect those workers, we do. The commitment is clear-cut, that we are out to raise every single worker in residential, and all the strength and resources we have and the backing of our membership, we do that. And we take on as much as we can, working with the DEA's office through our own labor compliance folks, to move that ball as far as we can down the field, right, to take care of that. And then what we find, though, repeatedly is inspirational, not just stories, but actions from workers that have had enough. And just the knowing the solidarity we will deliver to them helps a lot. We control what we control. What we're against, we fight. And for the workers, we stand with them shoulder to shoulder. So
I can also tell you that right now we have received multiple cases. For example, there's a case that is under review and investigation that was referred to us by the sheet metal workers in the building trades. And we continue to get cases referred to our office. So it's a constant fight for workers' rights. And it's really a warning message to the violators out there that you have eyes watching you. And now you have a district attorney supported by amazing elected officials and the Board of Supervisors that wants to make sure that the rights of workers are protected. And so that's really a message that we want to send out for the entire region. Other questions?
Is this on? Yes. Hi, Juliette Smith, Fox 40 TV News. Can you share more details about the specific unit? How long has it been in the works, and how do they plan to hit the ground running?
So in regards to the unit, the Workers' Protection Unit, we've been planning and working on it for well over a year. And in the process started collaborating with the different unions, whether it's be the carpenters, the building trades. And so we've been working hand in hand in terms of looking at those cases. And in particular, this one came to our attention approximately a year ago. And the process then continued with investigation, follow-up. And in fact, we even executed a search warrant last week on this very case, and we're continuing investigating the case because we've charged the corporation, the company of ProFrame, with wage theft. But we're also looking to see not who, but we're looking to see who in the company knew about the theft. And how far does it go up the chain of command in the company? Because this is a first step in terms of that prosecution and many other prosecutions. Other questions? So if there's no other questions, I do want to let you know that a number of us, including the supervisors, the representative from the building trades and the carpenters, are available afterwards for a one-on-one interview if you have further questions. But thank you for being here. And can we have perhaps a call to action, a cheer?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Workers are under attack.
What do-
Fight back.
Workers under attack. What do we do?
Fight back.
Workers under attack. What do we do?
Fight back.
Workers under attack. What do we do?
Fight back.
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 Let's go.
Let's go.
We're going to take a picture.